Many of us dream of being in movies. Some of us dream of making movies. Today, I'm speaking with Bobby Ross, a filmmaker from Tulsa, Oklahoma, to talk about his first short film, Dogs. Thank you very much for meeting me, Mr. Ross. Now that your film is finished, or almost finished, how do you feel?
Now that it's done, or really close to done, I'm actually kind of disappointed, I guess. It's bittersweet, but it is what it is, and it's not the last one. Nothing you make is the last thing that you make. I think that it's good to remember to enjoy the journey and that nothing you make defines you forever. It's just a snapshot of who you were at that moment. It is disappointing. It's disappointing when something is over, because when it's in your head and it's just a beautiful blank page, then there are all these possibilities, and I could be the next Denis Villeneuve, or however you say his name, or the next Sam Raimi, But when it's done, you get to, return to reality and realize, no, I'm just a dude making his first short film, and it's not great to me. It's not amazing. It's not like life-shattering. It's just a film. It's the best that I could do, and I'm really proud of it, but I'm still disappointed that it wasn't, the next, Cannes winner. Dogs is about a tired, worn-out dude who has just had to bury his dog, his best friend, and he goes to work the next day in a town that is somehow being overrun by a crazy rabies virus. So it's like a super rabies, and they're killing off all the dogs in the town, and it's also affecting people, and it's affecting them very quickly. And so Aaron quickly discovers when he goes back to work the next day that the world is changing dramatically around him, and that there are people who are maybe more coyote than they are human. Well, the idea was just a horror trope from the beginning. A werewolf movie is such a simple concept, and it's so easy to screw up, and it's so easy to kind of conflate and turn into the wrong kind of morality tale. I think that we tend to talk about duality in people very easily. Werewolves, or in this case coyotes, were-coyotes, are something that allow us to explore the dark side of a person. So the person that we present to people, and then the creature that we become once in a great while. For a werewolf, it's a full moon, but for the rest of us, it's if we get angry, or when we get our buttons pushed, or when we get put in the wrong situations. And that's something that's always intrigued me about that particular subgenre, and something that I wanted to explore. What was the question?
How did the idea come to you?
Oh, how did the idea come to me? It's just a werewolf movie. The biggest key players were Aaron being on time and ready to try anything, ready to attack those scenes over and over again, even when it was him getting tackled from a standing position over and over again by our stunt coordinator, David. And literally everybody who took all their time out to do this, because nobody got paid to make this. We were all doing it because it was really fun to make a movie. Alyssa Green was a huge help, and Austin Donahoe, who was a location sound recordist and also did the audio post-production on the film. He was incredibly helpful as far as helping to bring it to life. Without the sound effects, it doesn't work. It all falls flat. But that sound is more important than anything that you see, and fills in all those holes and creates that tension and eeriness that makes it what I think that makes it a good film. I met everybody doing something other than filmmaking. So I played in a band with Austin Donahoe. I went to church with Alyssa Green. Aaron is my best friend and has been my blood brother since college. We were roommates in college, and we have had a love of story and filmmaking and art together for as long as I can remember. So really, I just talked to people who I might not have thought would be interested in doing it. A lot of the actors in the fight scene, in fact, all of them are from my gym. I go to a ninja training gym. And so everybody is an athlete who did any of the stunts. So it's a lot of people who are really good at using their body and understanding how not to hurt themselves when jumping long distances really helped to sell some of these weird scenes. So the makeup effects were handled by Seth and Jill Park. All the special makeup effects. When we had the hammer scene in the jaw, which is fantastic, and my favorite part of the entire movie, the head explosion scene, was masterminded by he and Jill, and all of the makeup effects that were applied to characters were them. The wound we made just by sitting around and playing with putty in the middle of the night at Seth and Jill's house. He's a mad scientist, that's Seth. He's a mad scientist and created a really great solid foundation for the film so that it didn't have to all feel kind of like computery. When we set out to make this film, we knew that the effects needed to be practical and that the actors needed to fight as much as possible for real. Even if it doesn't quite land, it's still better. It still feels more real and grounded, and that's why Seth and Jill were such a huge part of the look and the final feel of Dogs. So Dogs is a film about ideology. When it came time to figure out what I wanted to make a film about, I was, like a lot of people, really dissatisfied with a lot of the things that are happening in our administration and our government right now. And so it's a film about how our ideas infect us and how something that we see as being very important or very, something very personal becomes something more universal and can lead us to hate one another outright because we disagree. So Dogs is a film that explores what happens when a person takes their ideology further than they do their humanity. Dogs is a passion project. My overriding love in film is horror, and so for my first film, I knew that it needed to be a short horror film. And so when we set out to make Dogs, all we knew was that we wanted to have a lot of fun and that we wanted to transmit that feeling of that gleeful, crazy, manic 80s sort of horror comedy into something that felt uniquely us, that felt uniquely fun and 2019 without being just another homage. And so it needed to have an 80s flavor. It needed to be shot as beautifully as we could make it, and it needed to have a tongue-in-cheek sense of humor that would maybe not translate for everyone. We didn't want it to be for everyone. We set out to make Dogs for a very specific person, and that person is someone who takes a great deal of glee in gore and practical effects and bad movies. We love bad movies, and we wanted to do the best job we could at making a bad movie. So Dogs is our first attempt to create a midnight movie for ourselves, something that we could be really proud of and turn on late at night, beer in hand, and say, this is exactly what I wanted right now. Something that is gratuitously violent and silly and weird.